She had no name that history cared to remember, but in the back alleys of Jerusalem, she was called Tirzah, a name that meant delight, although her life was anything but. Tirzah had grown up in the poorest quarters of the city, a daughter of a stonemason who died in a quarry accident. By 15, she was married off to this much older man, hoping for security. But what she found instead was herself in a loveless home, enduring harsh words and very bad treatment. Years later, she gave birth to a child, her firstborn, a son. It was as if light had entered this her cramped, shadowed world. She named him Abishai, meaning "my father is a gift," a tribute to the man that she lost long ago. She would sing to him, whispering dreams of a better life. But one day, when her husband was away for work, tragedy struck. The neighbor next door, a restless woman who had lost her own child, started visiting Tirzah. At first, he offered help, watching the baby, rocking him to sleep, fetching water, just doing basic chores. Tirzah, who obviously would be exhausted with her newborn, accepted this woman's help without suspecting the hunger in her neighbor's eyes, the ulterior motive. One day, Tirzah woke up to find her baby's cradle empty. Panic crawled through her throat as she ran into the street. She found her neighbor cradling the boy in her own home, claiming the baby to be hers, while her own dead baby was wrapped up in Tirzah's blanket one place in the corner. Word spread, people gathered, and whispers started filling the air. The two women hurled accusations against each other, claiming that living baby. In this time, there was no proof, obviously no DNA, and no eyewitness around to say this is what happened. There was only one place to go: the royal court. The day they stood before the king, Tirzah's heart was already breaking. She feared that the king would not believe a poor woman's word over another. And when King Solomon gave the order to cut the baby in half, her knee buckled. But in an instant, she knew it is better for her arms to be empty than for her son to be dead. She gave up her claim to that child to save the boy's life. This is the part the world remembers, but few know what it actually cost her. Few know that when she walked out of the palace, the joy of hearing "this son is yours" it was mixed with feelings of the knowledge that she almost lost this child forever. And fewer still know the rest of the story. After the judgment, the palace doors closed behind her with a heavy bang, but the sound in her heart was even louder, a thundering beat of relief. She was holding her boy once again, his tiny hands gripping onto her finger as though he was afraid somebody was going to come and carry him again. The crowd outside had seen it all, some looking at her with admiration, others with pity, some were still looking at her with suspicion. Because in the poorest corners of Jerusalem, a victory as such would stir envy. Her neighbor, who was humiliated and exposed, just disappeared into the narrow streets. But the rumors didn't disappear so easily. Life after the judgment was not the fairy tale she imagined. Some people whispered that she must have done something to make this other woman convert this her child so fiercely. Others claimed she had bewitched the king into believing her own story. In the market, she will catch other mothers pulling their children closer whenever she passes by. But Tirzah, she was not moved by all this. She held her head high, knowing that she had come before the king's eye and spoken her truth and received a good judgment. And in her small home, she poured every ounce of love into raising Abishai. She taught him to walk with his hands as her father had taught her. She told him the story of the day the king saved his life, not to glorify herself, but to show him that sometimes love means letting go. By the time Abishai was 12, he was already very well known for his skills in carving wooden toys and selling most of them to travelers. This little boy, who was once in the center of a royal dispute, now had a name and a reputation for himself. Years later, when Solomon's reign had entered its golden years, this boy, now a man, was chosen as one of the skilled artisans who built the palace expansion. And on the day he left home to go serve in the king's court, Tirzah, who stood by the door, tears rolling down her eyes, looking at her son, knowing fully well that his journey had come full circle, from merely being divided under the king's judgment to now building for that very king. She never sought for the spotlight again. She never needed to. Her victory was in the court that day. It was in the life that she protected, the boy who grew up to become a man of honor. And for her, that was enough. Please do well to like, subscribe, share. See you in the next story.